Welcome to Settlement Nation podcast, brought to you by Independent Life. And our first Rising Star Roundtable episode, which I am super excited about. I can't wait. Today I'm joined by Settlement Nation's excellent co-host Chris Boer and two trial attorneys who we actually asked to come on today's show so that they can share their perspective of what it's like to be a younger trial attorney in this industry. So starring in our first ever Rising Star Roundtable, we have Rilee Harrison of Lawter and Associates from Oklahoma and Jonathan Davidi from Panish Shea Boyle in California. So welcome, guys.
Thanks. Excited to be here. Looking forward to chatting with you guys.
So Rilee, I'm going to pose this question to you first. How did you get started in law? And was there a catalyst that you had or some sort of event that made you say, you know what, I think I want to be a trial lawyer?
Yeah, so I grew up in a really small town in Oklahoma, and I moved to Oklahoma City for undergrad, had a scholarship at the University of Central Oklahoma. And once I got there, I had a full ride scholarship. I was one of the first in my family that was like had college paid for and everything else. And it was always doctor, law, doctor, or, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And so I was like, well, I'll figure it out. Took some biology classes, said absolutely not. Took a pre-law course that an actual attorney taught. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm in. So I made the decision freshman year of college, decided to go and do it. I minored in real estate finance. So when I went to law school, my plan was to do business law, want to do transactional. In law school, I realized that the drafting wasn't something I enjoyed, but the negotiations was. And then I did a mock trial course, and the actual judge was the one that taught the end of the course and did our trial. At the end, he pulled me aside and was like, hey, oral advocacy, trial work, it's something you should be doing. And I made the decision that day that I'm going to change my path, not going to do business law, and I'm going to do something in the courtroom. Started having some opportunities to do plaintiff work, worked for a firm in Oklahoma City first. And then I got the opportunity to come over to Lawter and Associates. And ever since then, it's just been amazing. I've been doing workers' compensation first, a ton of, it was all bench trials, but a ton of being in front of judges, getting comfortable in front of judges. And then I had my first jury trial about a month and a half ago. Did it with another associate in our firm. And yeah, everything's been awesome. So that's what I plan to do the rest of my career.
Perfect. And John, same for you. Do you have a similar story? I know you've actually, I saw on your bio, you have quite a few verdicts under your belt. So tell us a little bit about your origin.
So this has never happened before, but Rilee and I have almost identical stories. And I would always tell the story in interviews, and I didn't know that someone else did the same thing. I was pre-med for 3 years in college. And, Rilee was lucky because he realized freshman year and he got out early. I was taking biochemistry, organic chemistry, and it was only when I was literally failing organic chemistry that I took a deep look in myself and I said, what am I doing? And at the same time, when I was in college, I was in student government. I was on the improv comedy team, which was a lot of fun. I kind of felt that I had a knack for speaking and persuading a little bit. And so I Googled practice LSAT questions, and I took 10 practice LSAT questions. I got 8 of them right. And I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I haven't looked back, and it was the best decision I made. And I go to law school at UC Hastings up in San Francisco. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. I just want to get good grades my 1L year like everyone does. And at the end of my first year, I auditioned for the Hastings mock trial team, which was coached by a federal public defender. So, kind of similar to Rilee, again, some exposure to mock trial. And I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I wouldn't study for my classes because I was spending more time doing a cross for a competition or a closing for a competition. And, when I was in that world, Dylan Dordick, who works at Gary Dordick's firm, obviously, he was on the team with me too. And Shane Inspector over at Klein Inspector, he would coach our team here and there. He became a mentor to me. And they kind of showed me that, if you want to try cases, you either have to be a prosecutor, a public defender, or a personal injury lawyer. And personal injury lawyer seemed like a better lifestyle, seemed like more fun. I liked helping people. I like that you don't have to bill hours. And I started my career at a big law, AmLaw 100 firm because, the security and the perks and whatnot. And I couldn't last more than 6 months. I got out of there, joined my previous firm, Lawter, where I tried a couple cases. And a couple months ago, I moved over to Panish Shea Boyle.
That's great. Let's fast forward just a little bit, and we'll start with you, John. Take us to your first trial that you were actually lead counsel on or co-counsel. What was that first day like? What was it like being in the courtroom?
So my first trial was a little over a year ago, and I was working at Lawter. We brought in Grayson Goody from Simon Law Group to co-counsel. And so I got to sit second chair to Grayson, and it was an amazing experience because even though I had this mock trial background, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, you don't really know how to try a case until you're sitting there, and you got to just think on your feet and make some shit up. I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but that's what it takes. You don't know how to get medical bills into evidence, or how to really cross-examine a defense expert until you just do it. And I was so lucky that Grayson, who was really kind of leading that trial, gave me so many opportunities. He was doing the voir dire, and I was kind of sitting and watching and taking notes. And midway through the voir dire, he turns to me, he says, "Do you want to take the next panel?" And I'm freaking out, excited, everything. I was like, hell yeah, I want to take the next panel. So, you just get up there and you take everything that you learn from all these, Keith Mitnick podcasts that you're listening to, Damages by David Ball, like all of it. If you read that stuff and listen to that stuff enough, it'll just blurt out of your mouth, I hope. And that's kind of what happened. You just, you watch one, you do one, and then you teach one. That's what they teach at medical school, right? So I was able to watch Grayson do it. I was able to do it myself. And then, now that I coach mock trial at Hastings, I'm able to teach it a little bit to them, which reinforces my learning.
That's great. And I'm glad you mentioned Grayson. He's been one of the best guests that we've had on. So any listeners that haven't heard that episode, make sure you go back and take a listen. It was great. So same question to you, Rilee. What was your first day like in trial?
Yeah, so first day in trial was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's cool because your whole career, that's what's building up to, is being in trial, and that's what I'd wanted to do for so long. So it was a great experience on that side. Now, were there some hurdles? Absolutely. I think the craziest thing for me was finding that balance of just letting everyone know, hey, this is my first time. I let the jury know that in the opening statement. I kind of got up there and I just sort of took a deep breath and said, wow, I'm just taking all this in, just like y'all have never been here before. This is one of my first times with this part of it, and then also the judge. At first I was like, oh my gosh, this judge hates us. And then I slipped in. That's what was our first trial, because unlike John's experience, I did it with another associate in my firm that it was his first trial too. He had second chaired one trial and didn't do anything at it during his first one he did. So we were fresh. And so I told the judge that. And after that, she put her hand over the microphone. She goes, "Oh my gosh, this is y'all's first time?" And we were like, "Yeah." Nice to us the rest of the time. It was awesome. So that's a trick for anyone. Let the judge know, I promise. But yeah, I agree completely with a lot of stuff John said. I mean, I know that now that I have that first one under my belt, kind of the teaching, I'm actually meeting up with another guy here in Oklahoma City that has his first one coming up, and I'm going to go through my experiences with him this evening. And so it's I live it, I breathe it. I always tell people, if you ever want someone to come to your firm and just help out with, do a mock cross on your client, so, you're not the one that has to look like an asshole. And again, with John, I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but I say those words. So, and so I'll go and help out with stuff for free, because to me, just helping other people, I'm getting better every time I do that. The more practice I get, the better I'm going to be. So,
yeah. So Rilee, you're young in your career. Could you look back and see, this is kind of a two-part question, maybe a moment in your career so far that maybe didn't go the way you thought it was going to go and what you learned from that? And then second part of the question, what's like a moment that you were most proud of that, like when it happened, you couldn't wait to like go share it with everybody that you knew?
Yeah. So as far as the moment, I'll hit the second part of it first. The moment that I was the most excited about was my first workers' comp bench trial that I actually did on compensability. So in Oklahoma, that is whether or not the employer is liable to pay for their damages or not. And my first one, I won. And getting to call that client who had been strung along for 6-8 months, trying to get everything set up and ready to go. And, our doctor's report, their doctor's report, and all this. And that emotional moment of, hey, we won. You're going to get the medical treatment that you need and you deserve. I teared up. That was a really cool moment. And I didn't realize how emotional I'd be telling them that, but it was just phenomenal. There's no doubt about it. As far as something that didn't go my way, the way that I approach law and just life in general is I try to be a pretty nice guy. I'll fight for my clients. I'll pull out my claws when I'm typing sometimes. But for the most part, I try to approach everything as I'm working with opposing counsel to get a result for my client that works and a result for their client that works. And there's been a time or two where I've thought, I thought that was going to work with everyone, and it worked pretty well with most. But there's a few that will take advantage of that. And so there's been a couple of times where I've been like, okay, we can reset this out, thinking that they were going to get, opposing counsel was going to get it done on their end, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and they didn't. And so after kind of getting burned on that, I've, moving forward, especially in my workers' comp practice or anything else, I mean, I go ahead and file it. But I let them know. I'm honest with them. Hey, just in case you're not able to get it done, you have so many hoops you have to go through with your adjuster and everything else. I'm going to go ahead and get this filed. And then that way, if you're able to get it done, we'll moot it. The judge is going to know that you got it done. It's great for you. If you don't, then I'm not going to be pushed back on a trial date, because I'm letting you reset and giving you a ton of time. So that's been the best thing for me, I think, on that.
That's great advice. So John, same two-part question to you. What was a moment in your young career so far that maybe didn't go the way that you thought it would, and what you learned from that? And then what's a moment that you were like most proud of that when it happened, you couldn't wait to go share it with everybody?
Chris, you didn't tell us there were going to be two-part questions for new guys. That's pretty high-level stuff, okay?
So I'll answer in order, unlike Rilee. But my first real expert depo was brutal. And it was this dog bite case that we had last September in Orange County. It was going to be one of the first post-COVID in-person jury trials. And I was with my buddy Nathan Worksman, and we were kind of co-first chairing it, kind of like what Rilee had with his associate at his recent trial. And we both had some second chair experience. Neither of us really knew what we were doing, but we were going to do everything, A to Z, expert depos, opening, cross, whatever. So I'm taking the expert depo of their orthopedist, and he could smell that I didn't, I was young and fresh and green, and took advantage of it. And, I said, well, you would agree, something like you would agree that she was in pain when she presented to your office. And he goes, well, what is pain? And I was just, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The depo went 2.5 hours. It was not good. And then we decided, okay, Nathan, you're going to cross this expert. I'll cross the expert that you deposed. And now let's transition it into, probably the high moment of my young career so far. We ended up taking that case to trial. It was the first post-COVID jury trial in Orange County. Everyone's wearing masks. It's a whole, thing. The trial is being live streamed online. And so, a bunch of my friends and mentors, whatever, are kind of chiming in, texting me tips in the middle of the trial. And the defense had made offers of $10,000, $28,000, and $75,000 2 weeks before trial. And I told the defense lawyer, I was like, look, if you get me, 120 or something, I can get it done. 110, 120. I'll talk to my